Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Hope you guys had a great holiday season. I'm a little bit under the weather. You can hear I still have a little bit congestion, so bear with me here. Um, we're really excited today to be inviting back Dr. LaKeisha. Dr. LaKeisha is an integrative gynecologist, hormone specialist. She's also a best-selling author who supports Hormone Hotties. Hormone Hotties are perimenopausal and menopausal women who look to fight the fatigue and digestive issues that come during this transitional period. So currently, Dr. LaKeisha is on her New You Gut Buster speaking tour. So this conversation is geared towards giving perimenopause and menopausal women hope that there is more to weight gain than just calorie in versus calorie burned. So during this live, she's going to chat with us about calorie counting, stomach bloating, diabetes, and so much more. So I saw Dr. Here you are. Hi, Dr.
Hello.
Happy
How are you? Happy New Year to you. And thank you for being the first stop on this New Year, New You tour. I'm so excited. I'm super excited.
This is perfect timing, and I love your hair.
Great, great. Oh my gosh. I know you're on the West Coast, so it's just afternoon for you. It's already early evening for me, so this is perfect timing too for me. But thank you so much, like I said, for hosting this tour today.
It's perfect. It's like, New Year, people are looking for New Year, new resolution. So it's the timing couldn't be better.
Exactly. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh my gosh, I know that what I call the ones that I call my hormone hotties, these are perimenopausal, menopausal women. I had a hormone biohack tour because I knew the holidays could be so daunting for most people. And that's where you could probably pack on that weight, right? So I was like, okay, what if we could biohack the holidays and bio and make sure that we don't fall victim to the holidays. Now, of course, like you said, everybody's talking about the new and resolutions, and some people just talk about intentions and what am I doing this year and how is this going to be different? And so I was thinking again, hormone hotties, what do they come and talk to me about a lot? It's that gut. It's that midsection, that thing that just starts coming out of nowhere where we are just like, OMG, what just happened, right? It's like, what really just happened? And so I got to thinking about a lot of the physiology that we experience as perimenopausal and menopausal women. And I said, I think when I can sit with women and give them some of the physiology and help them understand the changes that are going on, it releases them to one say, this is not made up. I'm not just dreaming this or imagining it, right? Because a lot of women are told by their primary care doctors or by traditional doctors, I will say it. I'm one of them. I'm not picking on. I'm one of those that they used to come to me and say, I'm gaining weight and I don't know why. I was like, well, you must be doing something wrong. Well, go out there and exercise more and eat less. That is so not what's going on. And so I've come today to spread the gospel of what is going on in your body. What is going on? What's going on? So I wanted to start out by saying it's not that calories in versus calories out mantra. Okay. So, what I have come to find in diving into this world of perimenopause and menopause is how our body changes and the various different organ systems, how they change in response to our hormones changing. And you end up getting into this little wheel like a rat race wheel. That's hard to say, right?
Absolutely.
And you just kind of get on this whole thing, and it's like, where do I get off? And so I said, hey, if I could give you release from counting calories and understanding what's going on in your gut, I think that would be very empowering. So the first thing I want your ladies to understand, the hormone hotties out there to understand, is that it's not calories in versus calories out, especially when we come to this time in our lives. And when I say us, y'all, I'm in the fight with y'all, okay? I am part of the cohort now. I
Same here.
have confessions. Right.
Same here.
Confessions. Okay, so we're coming to the altar, right? And what I found is that there has to be the balance, a right balance of bacteria that lives in our gut. Okay. So, ladies, you are going to find out, men, whoever is on this live, you're going to find out I'm super geeky. I love diving into the science. So, and I'm a teacher. So, I'm going to take you to school very briefly, but I have a really great knack of taking complex concepts and making them very understandable. So, you're not going to glaze over and go, and I'm not going to become Charlie Brown's teacher and not sound like wah, 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 wah. Okay. So, here we go. There are 4 families that love to live in the intestinal tract, the large intestines. Okay, so there's the Bacteroides family, there's the Firmicutes family, there's the Enterobacter family, there's the Proteobacter family. I think I have all those right. There are 4 families that really love to live in the GI, in the large intestines, and if they're all in their neighborhood and they don't have too many children, they all get along very nicely in the neighborhood. Okay. What science has found is that those that have the right balance of the Firmicutes, which are the F family, and the Bacteroides family, if there's a right balance between those two, those are the people that we found that tend to have healthy guts. And we learn that they tend to be on the leaner side. Okay. So what we found is that you have to have the right ratio of not only do you have to have the right bacteria families in the gut, but you have to have the right combination or the right amount of children between these 2 particular families. Now, what we've also found is that these bacteria, when they eat fiber, when they digest the right things that come in the gut, they produce what is called a small chain fatty acid called butyric acid or butyrate. And this butyrate is beautiful. It is wonderful. It has several properties. Okay, it helps the lining of the intestinal tract. It helps it to have anti-inflammatory properties. We love that word, right? We love anti-inflammatory. And so it helps the gut to stay nice and calm instead of getting angry, like we've talked about. If you followed me on my tour for the holidays, I talked about inflammation and what that means. It means things get angry and they get inflamed. Okay. So butyric acid or butyrate, a small chain fatty acid, which comes from bacteria eating up the right things, can help your gut to stay nice and calm. Okay. So this is the first thing. So we know that there's they've got to have the right gut bacteria, got to have the right ratio. They eat the right thing and they produce something. Butyric acid also helps with blood sugar regulation. Okay. So I know there's a lot of discussions around GLP-1 types of molecules, and this is what a lot of people talk about, Ozempic and things like that. That particular molecule, what it does is it helps regulate blood sugar by slowing down gastric emptying and allowing insulin not to spike too high and to go too low. Okay. So no, I'm not saying that go and get a whole bunch of butyric acid that will, but we know that it has these particular properties. The other thing that having the right bacteria does is it helps you to metabolize your estrogen properly. And that's huge, huge, huge. Now, this is where the story gets a little, is it the chicken or the egg type of story? Okay. So you have this bacteria that helps you to produce, that it actually produces this enzyme called beta glucuronidase. Beta glucuronidase actually helps your estrogens to break apart actually so that they can become reabsorbed into your bloodstream and go sit on the receptors for estrogen. Studies have shown estrogen can be very helpful when it comes to insulin sensitivity. Okay, so we know that that can be helpful. Estrogen can also help with making sure that certain properties, certain anti-inflammatory properties are produced. And we also know that there's a gut-brain connection, and we're going to talk about that later. So now we have this particular thing going, but the tricky part is in perimenopause and menopause, you're not making as much estrogen as you used to. And we know that when you are producing the right amount of estrogen, where you break it apart and it's able to get reabsorbed and work properly and then flush out of your system the right way, the metabolites, you become insulin sensitive, your blood sugar regulation's good, your weight is controlled. This whole system works together. Here's the tricky part. When your GI system, when your intestines, those little cells that line the intestinal wall, when they are inflamed, when they are angry because you have this imbalance, right? They do not allow your body to do the right things, like take that excess estrogen and get rid of it. So then you may need some help with things that help with phase 3 detoxification of estrogen, is what we say. Okay. And that's where I do bring out my toolbox of supplements. I tell everybody, I'm not the doctor that tells you that you have to take 12,952, different pills. Okay. Yeah. But I do have certain supplements for certain times that I do believe are helpful. So, for instance, when we have this inflammatory process going on in our gut, we found that there's an inflammatory factor called NFKB that is pro-inflammation, and it's in the gut, and it kind of just makes things really irritable and you just don't feel good. This is where you get that bloat. You start eating anything and you're just like, I eat this today and I'm bloated. I eat this tomorrow, I'm bloated. I don't, you have no idea what you can eat anymore. You feel that you have no more control. So, what I like to do with my patients, Jenna, is that I like to give them a combination of a NFKB factor supplement, as well as, I'm looking it up right now, it's called endothelial blend, and a butyrate complex. So we can help calm down the endothelium as well as help with giving that butyric acid. And then, of course, working and making sure, hey, do you have the right bacteria on board? So that's a whole nother deep dive, because you can do some GI mapping and see what type of bacteria you have. And then you can really dial into the probiotics and the prebiotics that you put on board that can be helpful, as well as the dietary changes that need to be made so that you can feel like yourself again. I know. I just gave you guys a whole lesson in biochemistry and biology. But this is what happens when you are in perimenopause and menopause. And this is one of those things that can be a contributing factor to the weight issue. It can then lead to theosis. You now are at an increased risk of developing metabolic syndrome. Okay. I had a wonderful conversation with Dr. Carrie Jones the other day. I just love her to death. I say she's like one of my unofficial mentors. If y'all don't know her, she's really great in the world of hormones. And we were talking, and she said, you know, a lot of times when people hear the word metabolic syndrome, they think metabolism, right? And she's like, they're two different things. And I was like, you know what? That's so true. Metabolic syndrome is a cluster of various different physiological dysfunction that come together that create a syndrome, right? So you have hypertension usually, you have diabetes or insulin resistance. You can even have thyroid dysfunction and high cholesterol. And I see a lot of that with my perimenopausal and menopausal women. And so what happens? How does this look for you when you walk in the door to your doctor? How does this look for you when you wake up every day? It looks like you're irritable, you can't get to sleep, you feel bloated all the time, you feel inflamed, you literally feel inflamed, like your fingers, your joints, you feel inflamed. All of a sudden your doctor is telling you you have high cholesterol, and you're just like, I have not had high cholesterol ever in my life. You now have hypertension, and now somebody's trying to tell you, oh, just get a little bit of a high blood pressure, just a little bit, right? It's just a little dose. And so this is how this can show up every day in what we call signs and symptoms. It can show up as a hypofunctioning thyroid, where the numbers are on the low end of the reference range of what traditional doctors say are normal. And you're just like, no, something is wrong, right? And so this is how this whole metabolic syndrome can show up. So I know people are going to say, well, how do I take care of this? What do I do? So now what, right? So now what? Well, this is where I tell my patients too, that it is where it's going to be a journey. It's not a one thing. It's not a silver bullet. It is, okay, let's see which symptom is the most intrusive and interruptive of your life at this time. So then we start chipping away at it. And I tell them, we are in a marathon. We are not in a sprint.
Yep. Also, as you mentioned, that all these symptoms and conditions, they're all interconnected and intertwined. So you can't just like address one thing. You really need to comprehensively take the time to really address it, because they go in cycles.
Exactly. So for women at, usually this time, because like we said, it's resolution time, it's time for new and newness. It's usually the weight. So that's why I say, hey, let's address the micro. Let's address the microbe, the microbiome. Let's address that. Let's see if we can get that back in balance. And that's where I say, okay, let's address the supplementation. Let's address getting a GI map done. Let's see how we can get to the root. What is your root cause? Because everybody's root cause is different. This is why medicine is moving in this personalized direction in terms of being able to map your genome, seeing what genes you have, what genes are you turning on. Because sitting back and kind of giving these blanket statements and making these blanket protocols is really not serving the majority of people. And this is why we have this, hey, if you want to lose weight, just take this. And then one person takes it and, oh my gosh, I lost 30 pounds in, 10 weeks. Or whatever. And then this other person, I only lost 5 pounds. Well, your root cause, the reason that you are having this symptom is different from your neighbor. And so that's why we have to really sit down and say, okay, let's start here. Let's see if you have the dysbiosis. Let's see if you have metabolic syndrome. let's kind of dig into this more, because women get defeated when they try and they try and they do all these other things, and they're exercising, over and over, or they're really restricting their intake, and they're just like, what is going on? Why can I not achieve? And so I want to be able to shine the light on the changes that happen in your body as you get to this new phase of life. I talk about, I have a podcast coming out, and it's launching on Wednesday, y'all. And I talk about, in the first episode, I sat back and said, there are so many women, there are more women than not that get the first talk, the talk that your body's going to change. You're going to have things change in your body. You're going to have breasts that grow. You're going to have hair that shows up in different places. You're going to start your period. You have that talk. But how many of us have the second talk? Have the talk about when your period stops? How many of us have that talk? And it's so, and that talk is tricky, because now we're finding that there can be over 100 symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. That's where the individualization, the personalization comes in, and that you can be in perimenopause and menopause for up to 15 years before you even go into full-blown menopause.
Which is like a long period.
Exactly. So this is one of those tools I want to be able to hand women and say, here's some power back to you. Because we get into this phase, we're going to spend a third of our life in menopause. Okay? About 6,000 women go into menopause every single day. And the definition of menopause is 12 consecutive months without a period, not being on any hormone therapy or anything. 12 consecutive months, no period. Perimenopause is just the time leading up to, which can be 5, 7, 10, 12, 15 years, right? And so I call it purgatory. Really, it's just you are just stuck in this waiting place, and you're like, what is going on? And if we can get some tools and say, okay, my body has changed, just like it changed when you were going into adolescence. And it wasn't going to be once you start your period, and every month, if you stopped your period, when you stopped your period, your body went back to something, right? It was now your body changed. You weren't going back to anything. So it's the same thing. Your body has changed. Your hormone levels have changed. The amount that you produce on your own has changed. Your stress pathways have changed. Your ability to tolerate and do certain things has significantly changed. It has changed. So I just wanted to stop by and say, Happy New Year to everyone. You are not by yourself. You are not alone. And these are some tools that you can have. So if you are looking for, some supplements, or how you can get some of these things back and get back on track, I do have a protocol. I have my Dr. LaKeisha's New Year, New You Gut Buster Tour protocol. If you just go to find that on my Soul Script shop there and get that protocol today. But I just want to thank you for letting me stop by and run my mouth for a little while. I really enjoyed myself.
This is perfect information. And as I mentioned, it's like, New Year resolution. This is perfect. And then also, I think people, New Year, people always sign up for gym for the exact same purpose. Maybe their doctor told them, you need to eat better, you need to lose weight, start exercising. But there's, again, as you mentioned, there's more than calorie in, calorie out. Like,
Absolutely.
for many of us, just going to the gym it's not the solution.
Exactly. And the other point, one other point I did want to bring up was the gut brain connection. So we do know that there is a connection between our intestines and our brain. And so making sure that the right bacteria is in the gut helps with the aging and healthy aging of our brains. So again, it goes back to those hormones, ladies. When the estrogen starts decreasing, we don't have enough that's floating around up here, and we do see an increase in that anxiety or depression, even dementia. So that's why this is very, very important, because there is that gut brain connection. Some people are even calling dementia type 3 diabetes. And that being a sign that you have insulin resistance, you're not being able to process and handle your sugars like you used to. Your insulin is not being able to carry that sugar complex the way it used to. And so dementia is starting to, in the world of functional medicine, starting to be identified as type 3 diabetes. And so that's why it's super important to really regulate this gut microbiome.
I feel dementia is even more scarier than diabetes, because at least diabetes for now, we have a protocol, we have history that we know how to manage it, but we have no solution for dementia.
Nothing, exactly. And there are studies out there when we start talking about hormones and bioidentical hormone therapy, and why it is something to be looked at and a tool for women, because studies are showing how estrogen and testosterone and progesterone really have protective measures when it comes to brain health. Okay. Men make all these things too, ladies. They just make them in different amounts. And so we know that there is a protection. There is cardiac protection. The estrogen gives us cardiac protection, even testosterone, even progesterone. There has been a study showing that the electricity system of the heart can be affected when progesterone is too low. So this is why it's super, super important for you to understand what's going on in your body at this time, to be an advocate for yourself, because I tell patients all the time, you can fire your doctor, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. You can. And so if you don't have a relationship with a physician that is a partnership, I tell patients all the time, I'm sitting in the passenger side, you're in the driver's seat, and you're telling me where you want to go, and I'm going to put in the GPS coordinates so I can make sure we get there. Okay. And I happen to have the knowledge to say, oh, I know how to get there. This is what we're doing. Okay. So this is why I want to be able to give you back some of this and make it understandable and digestible for you. So that's my role here at this point in time.
That's awesome. We have like 3 minutes left. There is one audience ask, I have low T3 and the major constipation and low ferritin. What can I do? And my body doesn't. She continued that my body doesn't get urge to have a bowel movement. The urge is not strong enough.
Wow. So I would tell you, I am a doctor. I am not your doctor. So I'm very careful to give specific medical advice, especially on social media platforms. I'll be very general. We know that iron, ferritin levels particularly, help with thyroid hormone being able to be able to convert to its active phase. So having the right amount and the right type of iron on board can be very, very helpful. The catch-22 is that most formulations of iron out there will exacerbate your constipation. So I do say, talk to your doctor and ask them about giving you a bioidentical type of thyroid medication. Possibly, you probably are a candidate for that. And see if you can get a combination of T3 and T4. You probably need a little bit of both, because your body probably has a little bit of a hard time converting. Vitamin C is very good. Vitamin A and vitamin E. Vitamin A helps the receptor side, the thyroid receptors, to be nice and open to grab the thyroid hormone. And then you can have, with the conversion, C will help you to absorb iron. Iron helps with the conversion. So that is a very generalized type of answer to your question. I hope that was helpful.
Totally helpful. But I also encourage everyone to check out Dr. LaKeisha's, the protocol for this new bus protocol, because, and also book a appointment, because I also think a lot of the conventional medicine doctors, they don't really think comprehensively, not like someone who's trained in functional medicine. So a lot of these concepts, they probably just follow protocol. Hey, if you have low T3, give you some supplement, but you could be having other issues. You could having gut issues that causing this, the low T3 or other problems. So seeking out like some functional help, I think would be also super useful.
Exactly. I think I see a follow-up to that T3. What is bioidentical T3 and T4? These are, or I should have said compounded T3, T4. These are formulations that are made at a compounding pharmacy, and usually a functional medicine or integrative medicine doctor know that compounded T3, T4, and they usually have a pharmacy they work with that they call in those prescriptions to. So it's not a synthetic formulation for your thyroid medication.
Thank you so much for all this useful information and answering the questions.
Absolutely, absolutely.
One more.
Would the compound? Yes. So when you get your thyroid numbers in the optimal range for you, and that's why it's different. It varies for everybody. Once you get your thyroid numbers in the optimal level for you, your symptoms start resolving. They do get better. If that is the only thing. I mean, there's a lot of complexity to this. So that's why I'm very careful to give you this is the answer for you. But it's one of the particular pieces that you can actually look at to see if this is a piece to your puzzle.
Yeah, and also check the dosage as well, because the dosage for each person is very, very different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is, if you're on TikTok, the same person, if you're on TikTok, there is a person I follow. Her name is Thyroid Coach Danielle. She is awesome. I think it's thyroid.coach Danielle. She is awesome when it comes to thyroid and thyroid health.
Check her out.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're gonna be following you and hearing all your wonderful tours.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So guys, on Wednesday, January 10th, noon Eastern time. So I'm on the East Coast, y'all. Eastern time. I am having my launch party for the Hormone Hottie Hotline podcast. Okay. So join me on my page here on Instagram, or if you're on Facebook, I'm the handle everywhere at Dr. LaKeisha MD. Join us. Just log onto that page. I will be streaming my party live. I have some absolute wonderful guests that are going to show up and pop in. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. So that's going to be the launch of that podcast. Absolutely. Yay! Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
You too. Goodbye. Bye.